Hello, my lovely peaches. Happy Saturday, and of course, happy whatever day of the week or night of the week you are watching this. This is Donna Adelson's 9-page email to Wendy Adelson, dated Thursday, June 27th, 2023 at 1:22 p.m. I am going to read it. I am going to put up a screen recording of the video of the letter email while I read it. Okay, so this is the email. I'm evolving as I'm doing these videos. I also do not have what many people do have, like StreamYard or some software or whatever, where they're able to record themselves and the screen and do everything in one video, but I haven't gotten to that level yet. I'm going to work on getting there. That would be great and awesome, because right now I'm actually filming myself here on my cell phone, and then I'm recording the letter on my laptop, and then I have to splice those two together and make sure that it's aligned with what I'm saying and the words on the screen. And then if I want to add any additional clips, music, anything like that, that takes additional time. So there's probably better ways to edit videos. I've got an old ass computer, an old Mac. I need an upgrade. I've got a phone that's limited. I don't have an external hard drive. So if you're here because you care about supporting me as a creator and you like my content and you really want to be here, then I think you'll appreciate knowing these things, because I am working on getting better at making videos, better at editing. I am going to throw up, not vomit, a screenshot, a screen recording. Again, thank you, StephenBEpstein.com. Check out his website. This is the source of where I'm getting these emails. And at the end of the video, I will share the letter I'm about to read, but without me reading it, without any audio AI. I'll throw on a little music, and that way you can see the letter in full and reference it. And if you're not clear about what I'm saying, even though it's going to be on the screen as I read it, you can always go to the end and just read the letter yourself without me there and all that jazz. Alrighty, let's try this way with me reading myself so I can actually see what's happening. Okay. Email, forward, Wendy, please read this. Gmail, conversation, page 1 of 9, from Donna Harvey at gmail.com. Donna and Harvey, sent Thursday, June 27th, 2023, 1:22 p.m. to Wendy Adelson at gmail.com. Wendy Jill Adelson. Subject, forward, Wendy ... please read this ... message sent from my iPad. Begin forwarded message. I'm going to scoot this over just a little so you can still see the page numbers. Date, June 26, 2313, 9:08 p.m. to Donna Harvey Adelson, Donna Harvey at gmail.com. Subject, Wendy ... please read this ... Dear Wendy, since neither one of us feels up to talking, let me share with you what we're all feeling as far as your response. There, I didn't catch that first time, but you see, she says, as far as your response. So, again, proof that Wendy responded. When I wrote to you this morning, we felt that you had reasonable thoughts as to what the judge might do or say or think regarding the charade we had hoped you would participate in. However, the more we think about that, we begin to realize that you and we have no idea what this judge will do or say or think. Who would have thought after paying an attorney $600 per hour for 10 months, she would take an hour and a half of testimony, not even bother calling gibbers to the stand, and decide that family support for very young children evidently means nothing, and a job that pays 10 times what your unsecured, untenured, and dependent upon state budget cuts jobs pays in Tallahassee will be just fine for your children? Does she care that after expenses you'll save next to nothing at the end of a year? Does she care that very little, if anything, will be put away for the children for their current and future education? Does she care that extracurricular activities, sports, trips, eating out in restaurants will always be a financial challenge for you to provide for the boys? Clearly, she did not take into consideration the future earning potential and benefit for your children. She didn't care that there's no backup support system when one of your preschoolers is sick. All she cared about was if the father hasn't been pulling out their toenails. Okay, I'm gonna pause. But I want to say, fuck you, Donna. I mean, the idea that, I mean, it gets worse, of course, as it goes down. You know, I'll make that point, but it's like, so you're basically saying that the lawyer cares more about her having a dad, more about the kids having a dad that's not abusing them, right? All she cared about was if the father hasn't been pulling out their toenails. You mean they have a loving dad who's there, who wants to be there, who is there, who's their dad, who's raising them, who's not abusing them. That matters more than money, honey. Yes, that matters more than being able to, you know, go out to eat and whatever, all the other crap that you think is so much more important. Sports, trips, eating out at restaurants. You really believe that every kid on earth who doesn't have a dad in his life would be satisfied not having a dad who's alive and well, who wants to be there? They're going to be like, it's fine. I'd rather not have that, but I can go out to eat and play sports. You fucking... No, that's not how it works. You... Like, oh my God. So, okay, back to the letter. All she cared about was if the father hasn't been pulling out their toenails. You should give up any financial betterment for you and your children and raise them in a place that you agreed to go to because Gibbers only had FSU as a job offer. Of course, as a graduate of FSU law and a native of Tallahassee, she, the lawyer, sees nothing wrong with living there. Obviously, as a native of South Florida, you know better. Okay. Our point is, we are, paused the letter, filling in my own words, racist, classist, assholes who think we're better than other people. And obviously that lawyer is from Tallahassee, so what does she fucking know? Back to the letter. Our point is, it's obvious that you and Kristen haven't figured out the judge so far. You were both shocked at the rapid decision based on nothing that was presented. So how do you think at this point you can figure out what the judge will say regarding your decision to introduce Christianity into the boys' lives? Okay, pause. I'm getting cold. I gotta put on my sweatshirt that I was wearing before, but I took it off because I got hot. And I had it right there so I could put it back on. Yes, it's new and it's hot pink. And put on my pagan hood. I'll get into some religious bullshit. Okay. And I've got some hot pink pants to match. When my kids came home from school yesterday and I came to the door in this outfit, they were like, whoa, matching. Bright. All right. Let me get settled back. And then we're going to talk about some motherfucking crazy. We're going to keep talking about some crazy bitches. All right, here we go. So, how do you think at this point you can figure out what the judge will say regarding your decision to introduce Christianity into the boys' lives? People go to prison and change their religion all the time. Pause, because it's like funny, like, bitch, y'all's going to prison. You're writing about people going to prison and changing their religion, and that's gonna, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna change a religion up in there, but you're going to prison. You were right about that part? Okay. People go to prison and change their religion all the time. People go through difficult times and find Jesus. Jesus was Jewish. That's true. My dad used to say that all the time. He had positive teachings. He had positive teachings. He gives people hope. And best of all, you get to go to heaven in the end. Sounds good to me. Obviously, it will sound good to Judge Hobbs. She goes to church. There were multiple donations from her church pastors and ministers on her financial contribution website. She's a Southern black lady. How do you know it won't be music to her ears to hear this? Because she's a judge and she's probably not a fucking moron. Continue, page 3 of 9. In bold and underline and in a bigger font, some possible options on Judge Hobbs' decision regarding Jewish holidays with the boys. As far as losing the children on Jewish holidays, there are a couple of alternatives to this. First of all, it may happen, but unlikely. He's entitled to half the holidays and alternating those holidays each year with you. You may be interested in the teachings of Jesus, because Jibbers has certainly ruined Judaism for you in the extreme way he practices it. He's kosher and he goes to shul, which I found out is just the Yiddish word for synagogue.
Shul. Synagogue.
A Jewish congregation. The house of worship and communal center of a Jewish congregation. Also known as a temple or the church for Jewish people.
Shul.
However, if the judge questions how much of the Jewish holidays you can have, you explain that your parents, You explain that your parents and brother are Jewish, and they will be coming to Tallahassee to spend these holidays, or the half that you're entitled to, or perhaps even the 60% that you're entitled to with the boys. Why 60? I don't know. She seems to believe she's entitled to quite a bit more than she is, in my opinion. Continuing on, 60% that you're entitled to with the boys. Or perhaps even the 60% that you are entitled to with the boys. Secondly, so what if by some crazy chance the judge... Secondly, so what if by some crazy stance the judge says, okay, Jibbers can have all the Jewish holidays. Then, If our bribe doesn't work, you tell him during the year that you'll take the kids out of Sunday school at church and cancel their upcoming baptism if he shares those dates with you. If not, keep them there. What the fuck? Then, if our bribe doesn't work, you tell him during the year that you'll take the kids out of Sunday school at church and cancel their upcoming baptism if he shares those dates with you. If not, keep them there. So she's using like religious, what do you call that? It's like religious abuse as threats or something. That's like really sick. So sick. Third, since there is a separation of church and state, she'll just go by whatever schedule you are given and tell you to work out any holiday arrangements between yourselves. Who declares what are, quote, legitimate holidays and which aren't? Shimony? Azaret? I guess those are the rabbis? The rabbis? Obviously, the court isn't out to help you. It's clear since Judge Hobbs' last ruling that she could care less about anything you had to say on your behalf. You need to help yourself. You know, Wendy, most of the wars that have been fought for the last couple thousands of years have been fought over religion. Charlie brought up a good point. Georgia Kappelman talked about this as well. Charlie brought up a good point when he said that Americans were dropped behind enemy lines during World War II wearing Nazi uniforms to get what they wanted. They had a job to get done, and they did what they needed to do to accomplish it. You have a job to get done and a very short time frame to accomplish it, in bold. So this right here is the part where Georgia Kappelman talked about on the stand with Wendy. Didn't your mother talk about Charlie saying these things in the letter? Didn't that show that Charlie was on board, giving advice, aware, giving his opinion about the situation? In all bold. And in a bigger, like this bitch went in, selected this line, bolded it, and made it bigger. You have a job to get done and a very short time frame to accomplish it. And this part, I watched Charlie. I'll have to see if I can find it and put it on the screen. Because when Georgia Kappelman is reading the part where it says, if you dressed your kids up in Hitler Youth uniforms and brought them down here, I could care less if it was an act of defiance and would show Jibbers that he's not in control, in all caps and in bold. If you dressed your kids up in Hitler Youth uniforms and brought them down here, I could care less if it was an act of defiance and would show Jibbers that he is not in control. And that's where Georgia Kappelman was talking about that on the stand. Maybe if this video isn't 1,000 years too long, I might be able to pop that up right here. And if not, then I won't, and it will be there. Let's continue. Not in control. Jibbers that he's not in control. This is only page 4. If your children are baptized, it doesn't make them Christian. Like if you get married, it doesn't make you married, I guess. I don't know. If you graduate and get a degree, it doesn't make you smart. If your children are baptized, it doesn't make them Christian. Ben and Lincoln aren't really pirates because they dress up like Jake the pirate. It's an act. Right, Donna? It's an act. It's not the real thing, like actually getting baptized. You got into this mess with Jibbers by being so compliant and non-confrontational with him. I bet. If you just keep paying your attorney her $600 per hour and don't fight for what you want, you're no better off than if you stayed married to him. Sure, you got rid of being unhappy in a marriage, so you don't have to live under the same roof, but he'll still be in control of everything, including what he wanted. Sole control of the boys' religious lives. Why let him? Why not stand up to this fucker? Why not fight? We're not talking about a lifetime of this. Why? You have the boys a very limited number of days before the mediation takes place. This is all part of an act. Wait, I want to try to understand. So, we're not talking about a lifetime of this. If you just keep paying your attorney here $600 per hour and you don't fight for what you want, you're no better off than if you stayed married to him. Better off than if you stayed... Sure, you got rid of being unhappy in a marriage, so you don't have to live under the same roof, but he'll still be in control of everything, including what he wanted, sole control of the boys' religious lives. Why let him? Why not stand up to this fucker? We're not talking about a lifetime of this. You have the boys a very limited number of days before the mediation takes place. This is all part of an act, bold and underlined. Please rethink this. Okay, hold on. So, she's saying you're only going to pretend to do this Christianity thing up until the mediation. Then once you get your way, basically you're going to threaten him. We're going to bribe him. We're going to threaten him. We're going to like squeeze him in all these ways, you know, confuse the fuck out of him, make him miserable, make this guy give you what you want. And then once you get what you want, it's all good in the neighborhood up in here. And, you know, and then you can go back to your merry ways of being Jewish, but not really. I guess. Please rethink this. We're all willing to help you accomplish this. And that's all it is, Wendy. An act. An act of defiance. An act of defiance that will put a scare into this jackass. It will infuriate him. It won't infuriate a judge that you found Jesus. She can't comment on your religious views. An act of defiance that will put a scare into this jackass. It will infuriate him. It won't infuriate a judge that you found Jesus. She can't comment on your religious views. It won't infuriate a judge that you're lying and faking because somehow you get found out like this. Now, this part is curious to me about, so Wendy was obviously not cool with this idea, but what I'm wondering is, was she already heavily leaning towards the whole, like, we're going to fucking kill this motherfucker anyway? Why do I need to go through all this bullshit? I don't want to put this act on when he's going to be dead, Mom. He's going to be dead, so I don't need to do all this. Like, what do you not get, Mom? I'm not going down. I'm not going to stay in Tallahassee. I'm not going to pay back all the $500,000 or whatever it is she stole. I'm not giving back the Holocaust family heirloom ring that I stole. I'm not entitled to. It's not mine. Why do you even want that? Why would you want that? I don't get it. Okay, I guess because I'm not a horrible person. That's why I don't get it. I don't get why you would do horrible things. But I think that Wendy, being a lawyer, perchance, knew, Mom, this shit is not going to do anything. They're going to see through it. They're going to know it's fake. You can't threaten somebody, this and that and the other thing, and that's not going to hold up in court. It's going to look weird. It's going to look bad. Oh yes, I have to find the clip. Let me write it down. Now I can finally show off my cute new pen. I was looking for an excuse to show them off, but I didn't have a reason. But I'm going to write a note. These are so cute. Again, not sponsored, but oh my God, I'm in love. Oh, I just wrote on myself. I'm in love. I'll show you. I bought them off of Amazon. And they are so darn cute. But anyway, back to, I'll show you real quick so if you want to get them. Zenith. And they are this. And they were, I don't remember how much money. Less than $20. And they are the cutest things in the world. Look at that. And this one. And then the other one, or maybe I brought it to the bedroom. Anyway, these are the pens. So what I was saying, what was the note that I wanted to make? Oh yes, right. Where Wendy tells Georgia Kaufman on the stand that she never responded to these emails. Wendy never responded. I had said in one of my videos about this that it seemed like when Donna was writing them, she was saying, I got your email about the 23-page rant. So how could she not be responding if she's saying she's responding? But again, I don't know. Georgia Kaufman will know, and Patrick Sanford will know because they went through her stuff. So they'll find if she did respond or not. But I am very curious if Wendy already knew, because what did Katie McBanoa say? That, I'm going to scroll all the way back to the top. This was June 27th. So he was murdered like a month later. And according to Katie McBanoa, Charlie was talking to her about getting somebody to hurt somebody, meaning Dan, in October of 2013. So the wheels had already been put in motion way before this to actually hit him dead. Was it June 4th that there was like literally the first attempt? So like the hit was already in motion? So maybe Wendy's like, Mom, fuck off. Stop writing this shit in this email. He's gonna be dead. Speculation only. I'm gonna light an incense for justice for Dan Markel and a moment of peace for him, because whether my speculation is speculation or not, fact is that is what ended up happening. And the reason I make these videos is because I do actually believe, unlike some others have said, the Wendy Sims, that there's not enough, she's not guilty, she didn't know, they went behind her back. Bull crap. Absolute, the stinkiest crap of bull that has ever crapped. There is so much evidence, in my opinion, that I just found up on these internet streets that makes this woman obviously an accomplice, a co-conspirator, a financial contributor, and most of all, the one who benefited most of all in every single way. I think Wendy was seeing the big picture, and she was like, you know what, Mom? This piddly shit that you're talking about is not going to get me anywhere, because that motherfucker is still going to be in their lives. And every week, every other week, for a whole week, he's going to be indoctrinating them with his religious zealot bullshit and blah, 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 blah. All right, back to the letter. Back to reading. You need to see the big picture. All caps, in bold, underline, exclamation point. You need to look into the future. You need to look into the future. What a life without your only family nearby, teaching in Tallahassee, with Danny always in the picture, will give you. It's not a pretty picture. page 5 of 9. We want to see you help yourself, underline bold. Not everything one has to do in life is comfortable or easy. Sometimes it's ridiculously hard. But Jibbers has tried to aggravate and screw you since day one of this divorce. His vicious emails, his defiance with Dr. Pam's directions on asking him not to come to the school every day when he doesn't have the boys. His not allowing you to pick the children up 1 hour earlier to drive to Atlanta. His bad-mouthing you to the faculty at the school you will be working at. Everything he does is done with malicious intent. I'm going to read that again. But Jibbers has tried to aggravate and screw you since day one of this divorce. His vicious emails, his defiance with Dr. Pam's directions on asking him not to come to the school every day when he doesn't have the boys. His not allowing you to pick up the children 1 hour early to drive to Atlanta. His bad-mouthing you to the faculty at the school where you will be working at. Just ignore the fact that Donna has been bad-mouthing Dan to his own children regularly enough for them to come and repeating it back to her. And for him to actually put a motion that she should only have supervised visitations because she's causing parental alienation because of how much she's bad-mouthing the father to his own babies. Okay. Everything he does is done with malicious intent. Why can't you do this for the few days that you have the boys prior to the mediation? You know him. You know which buttons to push. He certainly knows how to push your buttons. Take something from him. Take something from him. Right now, he's got everything just the way he wants. No, he doesn't. We need to take something from him in order to negotiate it back. This is your chit. Really? You didn't take all the furniture? You didn't take his children away from him and a family that he was raising them in? You didn't take away the life that he had, the wife that he had, the stuff that he had in his house, all the money that you took? That wasn't anything that you took away. Okay. I think the sun is starting to go down and you can see the bad lighting is getting worse. But this is your chit. The extremism that Jibbers is already teaching the boys is nothing more than brainwashing. Religion is brainwashing. It's control of the masses. It affects who your friends are, what activities you do, how you dress, how you eat, how you dress, how you pray, everything. There is no doubt you will have 2 little Orthodox young men on your hands with the only religious influence over them being Jibbers. I mean, that's not how life really works. You know, when you have 2 parents with completely different points of view, the children usually find some kind of middle ground. Unless they have some reason to, like, particularly despise one parent, maybe. He's already got them thinking that people who eat shrimp are bad. Hot dogs are disgusting. Guess what they are? Lobster is gross. Guess what? It's the cockroach of the ocean. Wait. Ben's not even 4-year-old. Wait till he's 8. Wait till he's 8. You're not teaching them anything different. You don't teach them that on Saturdays they can't go to soccer or any regular organized sports activity or even swim lessons. You let them play in the park or in the house. Jibbers has an organized plan that he's been doing pretty much since they were born. Shul. 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 That's the Yiddish word for synagogue. Every Saturday morning that he has them. Shul. for every Sunday that he has them. Shul for every holiday. Shul parties. I mean, isn't that kind of like what you do when you're religious and you go weekly, right? Shul. That will be their life. We don't want you to be the outsider who doesn't join in with the rest of the family is doing, who doesn't join in what the rest of the family is doing. I mean, why would you marry him? Why did you pick him off JDate? Why did you had problems? This is page 6 of 9. You had problems at the wedding because he cared about being kosher and you didn't, and that was a problem. So why are you surprised now that he wants to raise his children in the religion that he practices? And like, okay, so you don't agree with it, but it just sounds like he just wants to do his thing. Wendy, this is all about negotiating. But that's not what negotiating is. After consulting with 2 attorneys who are both excellent negotiators, one of whom we will most likely hire for the financial offer, we are getting the same advice. You must take something from him that he wants. Is that really the advice? I don't know. In bold and underline, and again in a bigger font, you must take something from him that he wants. When you intelligently negotiate in mediation, you, quote, pretend you want the house, even if you don't. You pretend you want the car, even if you don't. You pretend you want the ring, even if you don't care. You pretend you want the kids in Catholic school, even if you don't. It's just the business of clever negotiation, underline. Pausing the letter with my thoughts to adding in and saying, my opinion is that clever negotiation is to be honest, to be upfront, and to do its best for you, for your children, and for the person that you once loved so much, supposedly, although Wendy didn't, and she mentioned that. That's another thing I could pop in, maybe, that was on lawyer Misha Janice's page, where she played that radio. Was it the radio episode, or was that in, I found that somewhere where not only did Wendy tell Tamara Demko before the wedding that she thinks it was, she was marrying the wrong man, but she did it anyway. She told some close friend of theirs that she married the wrong man. And they said how heartbreaking that was. I gotta find, where was that? Okay, so she never loved him. She said she didn't passionately love him. And I also recommend lawyer Misha, as well as AA Legal Focus, Judy. Go follow them. But my opinion is, like, when I split up with my baby's daddy, we were never married, but even now, sometimes we have conflict, and ultimately, what matters to me is, first and foremost, the children's best interest in their well-being, and then mine and their dad's, because even though I don't want to be his romantic partner, his well-being matters to me, because his well-being impacts my children's well-being. And if he's not well, then that makes them hurt. I've also known my baby's daddy since we were 15 and 16 years old. And I love him dearly and always will. So there's that as well. And if you can think about your children as a whole entire human being who needs both parents, whether you broke up with them or not, unless, of course, always with the caveat, if they're abusive, then that's obviously not somebody you want in their life. But it didn't sound that Dan Markel was abusive. It sounded like Dan Markel loved his children, and he happened to be a religious person, which is what they knew from the start. It's not like he was not religious and then suddenly he sprang it on them. Like, I can understand if you marry somebody and you're not in any way religious and then they convert and you're like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not how I want to raise my children or live my life. And I guess, of course, people can change their mind as well. Like, you can marry somebody, you could be in that religion and marry that person, and then you decide, you know what, I don't know, I no longer believe, and I'm leaving, and you don't want to raise your kids that way, especially if it's like cult, like Mormonism or, you know, whatever those things. But it doesn't seem that going to synagogue on Saturday and eating kosher is extreme. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, let's continue on. And just before I continue the letter, I want to just add that being manipulative, is, in my opinion, and I believe the definition of it is when you lie and you say things you don't mean and you twist the truth and you try to twist somebody's emotions and you try to manipulate the situation to get what you want because it's what you want, not because it's necessarily the right thing or the best thing or even a good thing. It's not a win-win-win-win. It's like a win for you and a lose-lose-lose-lose. Like, your children are going to lose out, and they did lose out. And
manipulation.
Dan lost out, and everybody loses out. The grandparents lose out, and even eventually you lose out. Like, you chose a choice where you all lose out.
Manipulation.
You were so freaking selfish.
Manipulation.
You all lost out. You just pretended, and you really think that that's just clever business negotiation? That's why your ass is in motherfucking jail. You pretend you want the house, even if you don't. You pretend you want the car, even if you don't. You pretend you want the ring, even if you don't care. You pretend you want the kids in Catholic school, even if you don't. It's just the business of clever negotiation. It's not what you or we are familiar with, but people in business do it all the time. Both attorneys have said that this is how you get what you want. If you can't take anything from him, then what we do is just the financial offer. It's just not as good. If you can't take anything from him, then what we do is just the financial offer. It's just not as good. And then look at it this way. What's the downside? Worst case scenario is the judge does give him the Jewish holidays. Then after a short period of time, you offer him taking the kids out of Catholic school, Sunday school. If he shares the holidays, again, twisting and manipulating, or have a stipulation that holidays need to be reviewed yearly. You have a smart lawyer. She knows that all kinds of stipulations and temporary arrangements can be made at a divorce. Is she smart, though? Because she grew up in Tallahassee and she thinks it's okay to live there. So can she really be that smart, Donna? Wendy, you don't manipulate people. You're a sweet, kind, caring person. Jibbers is a manipulator. You just need to play a role. Bold, and again in a bigger font. What you're doing is jockeying for position. That ain't manipulation. How? In the end, if you do this and it doesn't get the results we're all hoping for, then you can't blame yourself. She's not blaming herself, Donna. You can feel good that you did everything you could. I'm not saying that we're not going to continue with hiring an attorney to negotiate and make a financial offer. I don't think you realize the type of... it does this at the end of the page. All right, back to the top of page 7 of 9. I don't think you realize the type of offer we're considering. We're planning on you, Wendy, Charlie, and Dad and I going as high as equal parts in a $1 million offer. That's $333,000 from each of us, which I'm saying they paid a lot less for the murder. Obviously, the more chits on our side, the better our chances are that we won't have to go that high. What does that mean? The more chits on our side? You have to show us that you're doing your part in this too. We're a team, and you're going to go down as a team, bitch is. We can't do this without your help, obviously, and that's going to be proved in court. One of the possibilities in lieu of that much money, obviously we start much lower, is offering not just taking them out of church, but negotiating a settlement which could possibly offer both boys private education at the Donna Klein Hebrew Day School in Boca. One of the possibilities in lieu of the money, obviously we start much lower, is offering not just taking them out of church, but negotiating a settlement which could possibly offer both boys private education at the Donna Klein Hebrew Day School in Boca. It may include monthly airline tickets to South Florida for as long as he lives in Tallahassee. He may stop and think that if he can get a job in a city he'd prefer to live in, it would be an easy flight to see his children. He loves living in South Florida. Teaching at his current schedule and with a big chunk of money, he could live down here and for the 26 weeks per year that he teaches and fly 2 days a week to Tally. Now the lighting is getting really weird. Teaching at his current schedule and with a big chunk of money, he could live down here, South Florida, for the 26 weeks per year that he teaches and fly 2 days a week to Tally. He would have very frequent and liberal visitation. See, this is the thing that really fucking... I'm moving, my back hurts, so I have to keep moving because I'm trying to like move this up. I'm trying to like not fuck up my back by sitting here. Maybe if I move my head over here, then you can't see. He would have frequent and liberal visitation. You're not looking to remove him from their lives. He needs to understand that. What the fuck? He shouldn't have frequent and liberal visitation. They're his children. He wants to raise them. That's what he wants to do. Let me move this over here more. Like, it's so unbelievable. The entitlement, the absolute level of the unbelievable level of entitlement and bullshit that this family appears to think that they are entitled to is unbelievable. And the fact that Wendy did all the things that she already had done up to this point leads me to believe that she was not in any way just getting, you know, tons of nasty emails from her mom. And she's like, this bitch is crazy. I'm not doing any of this. I think she was doing all of this. I don't know if she was doing the like Hitler Youth costumes and like telling him that she was going to go Catholic. I think that part she was like, no, I'm not doing that because he's going to be fucking dead, Mom. You know, up in here planning a hit on him instead of this ridiculous stuff. He would have frequent and liberal visitation. You're not looking to remove him from their lives. He needs to understand that. The negotiating lawyer will work with him with his school teaching schedule, he could see his children here a significant amount of time. His child support would be much less also. The attorney who will be doing the negotiation will also, quote, lay it out on the line for him what the various payment offers would be worth to him in 15 to 18 years when he may want to retire. The amount is huge. This payoff can put him at that point without any additional income of his own in the $4 million range. Certainly nothing he'd ever save in 10 lifetimes. Do you think, Donna and Wendy and Charlie and Harvey, that maybe Dan wouldn't take $4 million for his children's lives, or any amount? I wouldn't take, if somebody offered me $10 billion, I wouldn't sell out my children so that I had liberal visitation, but basically was just visiting my children. Abso-fucking-lutely not. No fucking way. If you try this, you really will not be any worse off than if you do nothing. So what's preventing you from just trying? Page 8 of 9. Maybe the fact that she had a hit out. I don't know how much of the big picture you're seeing, honey. I don't know if you realize that not only what you can provide for your boy's life, but for your own life, all depends on this change. Aside from living in a far better city with family, a personal history there, and you'll also have greater opportunity to meet people for your future. I'm sure there are many lovely women who are teachers, divorced with 2 children. You can be a highly successful, highly compensated attorney who is independent and not in need of someone to marry you to help support your 2 children. You can have someone cleaning your home, a nanny to help with your children, a lifestyle in which you and your boys can travel. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to really turn your life around and make a positive difference in the lives of your children. Your expenses with the boys now are minimal. Wait until you see how expensive everything is in the future for them. We don't want you, and I wouldn't imagine you'll want to, live paycheck to paycheck. Teenagers eat more than the yogurt these boys eat now. Everyone has a price. Ugh. Everyone has a price. Now is the time to start. You said this divorce is not about winning and losing, and that it's not a competition. You've already lost relocation according to the legal system. Well, it is about winning and losing. We're trying to get a win. You deserve it. You deserve so much more than a life without family, teaching in Tallahassee. Oh my God. Everyone has a price. Now is the time to start. You said this divorce is not about winning and losing, and it's not a competition. You've already lost relocation according to the legal system. Well, it is about winning and losing. We're trying to get a win. You deserve it. You deserve so much more than a life without family, teaching in Tallahassee. Life is tough. Life is tough. If you don't stand up and take a chance, you don't stand a chance, in bold and again bigger. Please, Wendy, do your part and stand up to him. Make an effort to do this so that our group offer will stand a better chance at being accepted. Don't let his temporary move to Tallahassee ruin your entire life. Probably because she thought it was temporary and then it ended up permanent. We all want the same thing. A better emotional, finally at the end, page 9 of 9. We all want the same thing, a better emotional and financial life for you and the boys all the way around. You know, Grandma was one tough and very smart lady. I think about her all the time. you think Grandma would have approved? Grandma was one tough and very smart lady. I think about her all the time. And I think about what advice this very intelligent woman, a wonderful reader of people who loved you more than words could ever express, would say to you. She'd tell you to fight with every bone in your body. Fight for yourself. Fight for yourself, your boys, and for the best possible life you can have. You know that's true. Fight for yourself, Wendy. We'll be there to help you. Just don't tell us that what you need to do now is, quote, move forward with a sense of peace. That's giving up. I don't believe that's really what you want to do after all we've been through together. And when you're literally a few weeks from this being over. Written with hope and love, Mom and Dad. Ooh, what does that last line mean? But wait, if you knew he was going to die, you're literally a few weeks from this being over, which was true because in a few weeks he was dead. Oof. Well, holy Jesus. I don't believe, okay, so, I mean, it is crazy. Just don't tell us what you need to do now is move forward with a sense of peace. That's giving up. I don't believe that's really what you want to do after all we've been through together. And when you're literally a few weeks from this being over. Okay, and how long was this? Let me see. I'm going to do a little looky-poo. All right, let's see. So we go over here. June 27th of 2013 to July 18th of 2013, including the day 22 days. Wow. 3 weeks and a day from that email was when Dan Markel was murdered. So I kind of don't get the point of saying all this stuff. Like, why? I mean, I guess like was that part of the alibi? Like, do all this stuff. Like, this is your alibi. Like, this is what you're doing in court and stuff. But then at the same time, he's going to be dead. It's just so crazy. It's like, how do you not know that when you hate him this much and then he's dead and you're going to be the suspect? All right, guys, in order to see if I can actually find those clips and include it in this video, I'm going to leave this here. And, wow, what are your thoughts? What do you think? Let me know. Look, I look hot pink, even my face, because I'm sitting here in the dark. It's only 9:44 p.m. actually, but I don't feel like turning the light on. Let's see, I turn it on a little bit. So I just wanted to pop in and say that I did screen record a bunch of stuff, over half an hour worth of testimony from Wendy Adelson, from Catherine McManus' trial, from Charlie Adelson's trial, and then I found a screen recording of lawyer Misha Janice's page, also Judy AA Legal Focus's page, and all of that together came out to be over half an hour. So depending on how long me reading Donna Adelson's 9-page email is going to be, I may either put this on the end of it, or this may just be a separate part. So either way, thank you for watching.
I think that's fair to say.
Is it fair to say that your brother is very protective of you?
I think that's fair to say.
Okay. What about Dan Markell? Did your family like him?
Do you want to specify a point in time?
Well, I'm specifically thinking of a statement you made in the interview after his death, where you indicated that your parents were very angry with him. Is that accurate?
At that point in time, during our divorce, I do think they were angry with him. They felt like he had treated me badly.
And the motion to preclude your mom from having unsupervised contact with your kids, that was still pending at the time of his murder, correct?
That's possible. I mean, I don't think anyone took that motion very seriously.
Okay. Did your mom take it seriously?
I don't think so.
So in 2019 at Catherine McBanawa's trial, she just says, I don't think so, when asked if her mother took it seriously, but she doesn't say she didn't know about it, which was a lie anyway.
Did Dan Markell take it seriously?
I don't know how Danny felt about a motion. If he wrote the motion, he was probably taking it seriously.
I want to approach with some emails. Have you had an opportunity to review State's Exhibit 80?
Your Honor, could I see what the State's Exhibit 80 is? Your Honor, and I don't know if you want to do it now or I'm going to request a sidebar on this.
What's that?
I'm going to request a sidebar on this, Judge.
The letter identified first.
This is State's Exhibit 80. Just take a moment and flip through, make sure this is the exhibit you reviewed previously.
I've been shown these exhibits.
Okay. And are these exhibits fair and accurate copies of emails between yourself and your mother, Donna Adelson?
They are.
Okay. And the email addresses on this exhibit, donnaharvey@gmail.com. Whose address is that?
My parents have a joint email address.
Okay, but you were communicating with one of them in particular in these emails, right?
Whoever signed the email, but it could be from either or both of them.
Okay, either could have used it, but we can deduce from who signed it who this one was from?
That sounds right.
Okay, and wendi.adelson@gmail.com, is that you?
That is me.
All right, Judge, at this time I asked to move into evidence, State's Exhibit.
We'll go sidebar. We'll go sidebar. Let me give a brief legal explanation to the jury. You've heard a number of hearsay objections about things that were said by Mr. Markell, things that are in these emails by another person who may not be testifying. Normally we refer to those things as hearsay, and they're not allowed without the person actually testifying, but there are a whole bunch of exceptions to that. And one of the exceptions to that is when it's not being offered to prove that what's said is true, but simply to show that it has been said because there's some relevance to the fact that these statements were made. So I am not offering these statements to show they're true. These persons, I mean, obviously Mr. Markell can't be here for us to have cross-examination of him. We don't anticipate that the other Miss Adelson will be here as a witness. We can't test. The attorneys will not be able to test that to see whether that's true or not, but I am allowing it for limited purposes to show state of mind of these persons. So you may proceed, Ms. Kappelman.
Yes, Your Honor. I noticed in the emails that your mother referring to who I think is Dan Markel, as Jibbers. What does that mean?
Jibbers was a nickname that I gave Danny when he was being really difficult and causing me a lot of pain. Was sort of a nickname I gave him to make him feel less threatening.
So it was a derogatory thing.
I wouldn't say it was derogatory.
Did you call him that to his face?
No, I called him Danny to his face.
Okay.
And Jibbers would be what? How would you spell that?
I don't know that I ever spelled it out. In the emails, I think it's spelled with a J, but I guess you could spell it with a G.
Jibbers.
That would be one way to
Ms. Adelson, you had Mr. Markel's phone number programmed into your phone as Jibbers, didn't you?
That's right.
Do you know much about your brother Charles Adelson's business practices?
I know that he does implant surgery.
Do you know anything about whether he offers?
He tended to repeat himself.
That's when he arrived, between 8:30 and 9:15. Did he ever say that?
No.
Do you agree with that?
I remember he was supposed to come between 8 and noon, and then he ended up coming on the early side.
That's when he arrived, between 8:30 and 9:15.
It's my best recollection.
Are those emails between you and your mother?
I don't think I responded. I think they're just emails from my mom to me. No?
Okay. Mostly all from your mom?
Yeah.
Okay, and the email address says, I think it's something like Wendy Harvey. Can you tell from the content that it's your mom typing rather than your dad?
Yeah, the email's Donna Harvey, my two parents' names, so they've been married over 50 years, so they have a joint email address. So it's from both of them.
Okay, so what I want to draw your attention to is page 2 of that exhibit, that first paragraph there above the word response. Did you have an opportunity to read that?
I read it real fast,
Kind of
but
scanned.
I can read it.
And what I want to draw your attention to is specifically the part that reads, your father has made numerous trips by plane for weekends and changing the patient's schedule. I didn't highlight it for you. Okay, give me just a moment.
I see the word stuck. I found it.
Okay. So did you describe, at least in one occasion, being stuck in Tallahassee?
No, can I read the sentence?
Sure.
So it says, the husband has made it difficult for the wife with her colleagues at her current position due to his statements and actions, and the husband's intent is to relocate to a larger area at some point. So the wife is merely stuck in Tallahassee until the husband decides that the time is right for him to leave.
All right.
Meaning,
and had he accepted a job anywhere else by the time that he was murdered?
no, he hadn't yet been offered a job, but he was always looking.
Okay. So he was just going to move and just let you have the kids at that point?
He probably would have done what I did, which is have a conversation and see if it was a place that made sense for both of us to live.
And would you have moved to wherever he got a great job and started a new life there?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay. Did you like Tallahassee?
I did.
And you said, I think you did say this, but let me clarify. Was your mom aware of the order denying relocation?
My mom was aware of the order denying relocation.
And what about your brother, Charlie? Was he aware of that as well?
I'm sure my mom would have said something to him.
All right, so did your mom suggest any ways that you might coerce Dan Markel to let you move with the kids to South Florida?
Yes, I think we talked about that before.
We did, and for this I'm referring back to those emails. and in particular, the bribe. So another bribe to get him to allow relocation. I'm on page 5 of the first email for the defense. Another bribe to get him to allow relocation should be the offer of plane tickets so that he can fly back and forth, right? So you're gonna potentially offer this big monetary benefit that would allow him to fly back and forth to work. Is that the idea?
I never said that I was going to do any of that.
Okay, was that the idea that your mom had?
That was the idea.
All right, and the amount of the bribe is going to be, or was at least discussed as being $1 million. Is that right?
That is what they said.
Okay, and did you agree with that?
No.
Would that have worked?
I have no idea if it would have worked, but...
You think he might have taken $1 million to let his kids go?
Well, he wasn't letting his kids go. He would have moved to South Florida, and he would have...
Might have taken $1 million to let his kids go?
Well, he wasn't letting his kids go. He would have moved to South Florida, and he would have...
Might have taken $1 million to let his kids go?
Well, he wasn't letting his kids go. He would have moved to South Florida, and he would have commuted back and forth to his job. So, maybe.
Well, then why wasn't it offered?
Because I didn't want to do it.
All right, what about the idea that you could try to threaten Dan to convert the kids to Christianity so that they can fit into the Bible Belt here in Tallahassee? Is that something your mom suggested in these emails?
My mom did suggest that.
Okay, and specifically, this is on page 7 of the exhibit. Let Jibbers know that your children will be baptized in the Catholic Church. Have a picture made of them in front of the church, all that kind of thing. That's what your mom suggested at one time?
She did, yes.
Okay, and did you do any of those things?
No, I don't even think I responded to it.
Do you know whether the defendant, your brother Charlie, was supportive of the plan to convert them or pose as converting them to Christianity?
I have no idea. I don't think he was particularly involved in this round of my mom's emails.
On page 11 of the exhibit, there's an indication from your mom that Charlie at least has discussed this with her and maybe is somewhat supportive. Charlie brought up a good point when he said that Americans were dropped behind enemy lines during World War II wearing Nazi uniforms to get what they wanted. They had a job to get done and they did what they needed to do to accomplish it. You have a job to get done in a very short time frame to accomplish it. If you dressed your kids up in Hitler Youth uniforms and brought them down here, I could care less if it was an act of defiance that would show Jibbers that he's, all caps and bold, not in control. In Hitler Youth uniforms and brought them down here, I could care less if it was an act of defiance that would show Jibbers that he's, all caps and bold, not in control. So it just seems like your mom was pretty extreme about this situation of getting you relocated. Can you agree with that?
Yeah.
All right, and Charlie was at least consulted on it or had offered some information about it.
Well, that was my mom's rendition, so I don't know if that's what actually happened or that was her perception.
Sure. Were you involved in the effort to consult a lawyer about the bribe and whether that was going to be legal?
I wasn't the lawyer consulted in that.
No. Were you involved in consulting a lawyer with your mom? Okay. Do you know for sure if any financial offer was or was not made to Dan Markell?
I couldn't say for sure if they made it to Danny without me knowing, but I don't think so.
Is that something they would do, is try to negotiate with him behind your back or deal with this situation behind your back?
I don't think so. I think I would have known. Danny probably would have told me.
But you definitely didn't extend any of these offers or threats?
No.
When was the divorce final?
The summer of 2013. Do you want me to read through it?
Could you read the caption aloud, please?
Sure. Motion to dismiss the former husband's counter motion to enforce marital settlement agreement's financial provisions, an incorporated motion for sanctions for failure to state a cause of action, and motion to strike as a sham pleading, and motion to strike as redundant, immaterial, impertinent, and scandalous pleading.
And then if you'll go to page 439, do you see a paragraph that begins, the vast majority of the former husband's motion?
Actually, don't see that. On page 439?
Yes, ma'am. I think I have it pulled out.
On number 8.
Yeah, the vast majority of the former husband's motion contains allegations that are redundant, immaterial, impertinent, and scandalous. Yada yada. He's making false and immaterial statements against you. His pleadings only prove that he is a disgruntled former husband who cannot move past this disillusion. So it's getting personal. Would you agree with that?
My attorney here is responding to his pleading, which was over the top.
And this is over the top, right?
I don't think so, no.
Then 6 days later, Dan files another motion seeking action against your mother, and that's the one we've already touched on. That's page 441. Is that right?
Page 441.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that's what we talked about.
Okay, former husband's counter motion for enforcement of marital settlement agreement on parenting issues and motion for contempt and sanctions. Here he's alleging, again, more violations of the marital settlement agreement, including communication between he and the boys. He wasn't happy with how much communication was happening, failing to keep him informed of where his kids are, failure to communicate about parenting decisions like the kids' schooling, diet, and extracurricular activities, and refusal to provide him access to the kids on their birthdays. So he's complaining about a lot of things associated with this, not just money stuff, it's parenting stuff too, right?
That's right.
And isn't it in this motion that... Yes, sir.
Oh, I said that's right.
Isn't it in this motion that Dan Markell seeks to enjoin you from allowing your mother from spending time with the kids without supervision?
Can you please show me which page that's on?
450. Do you see a paragraph beginning on 3 specific occasions?
Yes, I do.
Could you read that, please?
8A, on 3 specific occasions in November 2013, the children informed Mr. Markell, Abba, Dad, Grandma says you're stupid. When queried as to why Grandma, the maternal grandmother, would say such things, the children replied jointly that it is because she says you are trying to take her sunshines away from her.
And continue, please.
In December 2013,
you don't have to say the name.
Yeah.
Your child.
My child, the younger son, further stated to Mr. Markell in front of the former wife, Abba, Grandma says she hates you. The children were visiting with their grandparents at that time.
Mr. Markell is concerned that continued exposure to such negativity forms a foundation for parental alienation. Is that what he was alleging about your mom?
That is what he is alleging in this document, yes.
And this was filed in court?
He filed this in court.
On what date?
It will be at the front of the document, right?
Yes, ma'am, page 441.
This was filed on March 26th, 2014.
And this was the filing that never got ruled on, right?
I don't believe there was any ruling on this.
And that's because Dan Markell was killed before the hearing, right?
I don't know when it was scheduled for.
It wasn't even scheduled yet.
Okay.
It was waiting to be scheduled when he was killed. Is it fair to say your mom was worried about this motion?
No, my mom never knew about this motion. And as I mentioned before, Danny asked my mom to babysit after filing this motion, so I don't really believe anything that's written here.
Well, you forwarded this motion to your mother.
I don't believe I did.
Via email. In fact, you forwarded this motion to 12 different people. Your mom, Jeffrey Lacoste, Renee Griggs, Tova Walsh, Morgan Honeycutt, Gary Cohen, Miguel Edmondson, Trey Hubler, Robert Adelson, Rachel Frank, Jared Reich, and some MEHULNYC@yahoo.com. So if you weren't worried about this, why'd you send it to all these people?
I couldn't really say. It's been a long time.
And then a couple days later, we know what happened.
So this was in March. So a couple days, I filed it, I sent it to people in July when Danny was killed.
You sent it a couple days later.
I sent
that email to 12 different people.
In March.
Yes.
Maybe first email.
Ms. Adelson, you may step down for now.
Oh, okay.
We'll resume with the examination of the witness in 5 minutes.
Sure.
Ms. Adelson, come back in and take the witness stand. You can be seated. I also have to let the court reporter get set. She is the woman of the hour. Please bring in the jurors. Also, whoever's phone had the frogs or crickets or whatever that was, turn it off.
Go through all that in my head. I come to the conclusion, as you said a minute ago, that she was at least aware this was going to happen, and I think probably involved in it. Okay. All right. Too long. But just an overall impression of her. And Danny says this in court documents, actually. A very manipulative person, a pathological liar. Wendy was an alcoholic while I was with her. She drank her dinner most nights. Extremely fragile, extremely depressed. Many, many nights hated Tallahassee so much that thought we're a bunch of country bumpkins and we liked Tallahassee because she's from Miami. Didn't hide that fact. Thought it was bizarre that I moved here from Phoenix. And the 2 conversations that we had every single day for 9 months were, Danny is an evil monster, and Tallahassee is the worst place in the world to live, and I can't believe I got stuck here because of Danny Markel. And she was obsessed with those 2 concepts. So I got really tired of hearing that, but I heard that every day for 9 months. Wendy's very manipulative in that she plays the victim very, very easily. Whenever we got into a confrontation, for me, very sensitive to that. I work with DV victims, women that have been raped as a social worker, all that kind of stuff. So I'm also sensitive, Mr. Rogers kind of guy. So it's a very, easy way to manipulate me, or Markel for that matter. But she just wasn't stable even in the fall, and able to cover it up here or there. One of these people, the first 100 hours you spend with her, you think she's amazing. 101 on, you're like, shit, what did I get myself into here? This person's kind of crazy.
You talk a little fast for me.
I'm sorry.
100 hours?
Yeah, first 100 hours you think she's amazing. Then after that, it's, wait a second, there's some tremendous flaws here. So she puts up a very good public face. It's but as far as seeing stuff pertinent to the crime, I met her brother Charlie when I was down there in Miami for Immokalee. You may recall that I said I found him to be a very strange person, very aggressive, verbally. He takes sex tourism trips to South America to have sex with underage prostitutes.
Wait a minute, back up a second.
Yeah, he takes sex tourism trips to South America to have sex with underage prostitutes.
Sex tourism?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, South America.
I'm kind of a sheltered guy.
Well, I was shocked not only that he would tell people he did that, but that he would tell his younger sister. That was strange to me. Very odd. And there's this odd dynamic between them. The whole family is real weird. He talked in the hot tub about punishing a girl by anally violating her in front of Wendy and I, like bragging about the fact that he'd hurt this girl because she had got him in an uncomfortable situation. So, like an offender to me. It came off like kind of sociopathic, like this is strange. He just met me, he's telling me this. It was really, really weird.
Okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
I know, I'm just trying to rein you.
Someone killed the father of my children. First we got divorced, and then he got murdered.
This doesn't sound right. This just sounds wrong. Somebody gets something as a result of something else. Like, reading between the lines here, it sounds like Dan was the cause of his own murder. Like, he did something, and as a result, he got murdered. Interesting.
In casual conversations, I don't know whether to call him my ex-late spouse or my late ex-spouse, except that late ex-spouse sounds like latex spouse. Last July, someone, and we still don't know who, shot my ex-husband point blank in the back of the head as he pulled into our garage after driving our then 3- and 4-year-old sons to preschool. We married when I was in my mid-20s, when I thought I could cheat the system and marry a man I lacked passionate love for because, hey, didn't that die anyway during marriage?
So she's saying she married Dan even though she didn't love him? Great.
I saw his intellect and big heart and thought he would make a wonderful father for my children.
My children?
And she had taken whatever she wanted out of the house at the time.
So he was out of town. Is that what I understood?
So he had to refurnish, and he's like, I spent $10,000 refurnishing this place, and it was a big adjustment, and he didn't know what he had done wrong. Having talked to Wendy, there was nothing he could do right. And she just didn't love him.
Okay.
And it was not something I could say to him. Over time, I've tried to get there, but she just didn't love him that way. And I think she was young, and he was a scholar and the type of guy that her parents would want, and I think she even knew as she was getting married that it wasn't right.
That's what you referred to earlier about her having cold feet?
Yes. She had cold feet. We went for a walk within a month before her wedding, and we went to McClay and walked around, and she's just like, I don't know if I can marry him. And I was like, well, if you don't know, then you shouldn't. And still did. So I think the kids kept them occupied for a little while.
Well, at the same time, I think that they were married in 2006, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Sounds right.
And
Well, I just spent a couple hours trying to find that clip. I could have sworn it was on Lawyer Misha's page, where I heard a clip about Wendy went with Dan to spend some time with their friends. It was really more Dan's friends, and they were hanging out. And at some point, Wendy leans over and whispers in the wife's ear, I think I married the wrong man. I think I married the wrong man. And then when they left, the wife told the friend, and they thought That's so sad. And then they thought maybe Dan will end up as a single dad. I just wish I could find that clip so I could add it here, but I'll probably find it another time. Thanks again to Judy, AA Legal Focus. I was so determined. I was like, I know I heard this. Thank you. I just found it on her channel on a video called Reading Dan Markel Victim Impact Statements and Latest Adelson News. This was from January 28th, 2024. I did watch some of this live, and she had her friend on, let me see. Well, I will find his name and I'll link it as well. And here is the part I was talking about. Okay, so let me just show. Here's the video. There's Judy, and this is Remy Oliver, and that's right. I just remembered that they said he does not have his own YouTube channel, but he is an author. He did say he writes horror, which I, in particular, do have no stomach for. Zero horror for me. But anyway, this was very interesting. Listen.
This kept re-scanning the same pages. Okay, so these were from 2019. This is from another friend. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Thank you.
The state of Florida versus Sigfredo Garcia, state of Florida versus Catherine McManawan. I met Danny Markel in the fall of 1996. We were both graduate students in the UK. With us both being from Toronto and having fairly similar backgrounds, conversation and friendship came easily to us. I'm writing this letter to share with you how deeply impacted I was by the senseless murder of my dear friend. I knew Dan as a college friend, young lawyer, just starting out with an eye for down the road to a career in an Ivy League academic environment, as a man in love with the most amazing, man in love with the, quote, most amazing and beautiful woman in the world, end quote. And finally, as a caring and loving father to his two boys. Those boys meant the universe and beyond to him. He would do anything for them and often did. So I was saddened when one summer, while Dan and his spouse and boys were visiting with me and my husband at our home in Toronto, his spouse revealed to me privately that she believed she had, quote, married the wrong man, end quote. Later that evening, after Dan and his family had departed, I shared Wendy's confession to my husband, and we both said to one another something like, how sad. He'll probably end up a single dad at some point, despite him still being madly in love with Wendy. How I wish that Dan were a single dad today, with his huge circle of friends, colleagues, family members, and loved ones, many of whom came to see Dan almost as though he were family, myself included. I just know his life would have continued to be full of joy, love, generosity, humor, kindness, and warmth. His spirit was too indefatigable.
So describing Dan as indefatigable of a person or their efforts, persisting tirelessly.
Indefatigable.
Tireless, untiring, unwearied. Sounds like he had a very resilient way of being. Unfortunately, it was stolen.
Indefatigable. Indefatigable. His heart too full of love. He was too resilient to be brought low for long. Dan was murdered during a time of personal upheaval in his life, at a moment in time when he was indeed feeling low. And yet, whenever we would speak during those anguish-filled months,
he would start by saying, "How's Haley? How are you doing?" That was just Dan. Before closing, I'd like to share one story with you that says everything, to my mind, about how Dan envisioned how his marriage would be if he found the right partner. Many years before he and Wendy met, while we were still in grad school, he told me that when he married, he hoped to find a woman who might feel exactly as he did, that when, for instance, upon visiting a doctor for this or that ailment, one of them would say, while the other nodded in agreement, "Doctor, we are here today because we're feeling pretty lousy about my husband-wife ailment. Can you help us?" Losing Dan meant losing a bright and sparkly light in my life, a source of happiness and joy, a warmth and loving friend who always looked out for those whom he loved. It is my deepest hope that justice is served through this and forthcoming trials. Sincerely, Haley Meslin, PhD, Toronto, Canada.
Thank you. Thank you, Jill, for the super sticker also. So,
is it fair to say that your brother is very protective of you?
I think that's fair to say.
Okay. What about Dan Markell? Did your family like him?
Do you want to specify a point in time?
Well, I'm specifically thinking of a statement you made in the interview after his death, where you indicated that your parents were very angry with him. Is that accurate?
At that point in time, during our divorce, I do think they were angry with him. They felt like he had treated me badly.
And the motion to preclude your mom from having unsupervised contact with your kids, that was still pending at the time of his murder, correct?
That's possible. I mean, I don't think anyone took that motion very seriously.
Okay. Did your mom take it seriously?
I don't think so.
So in 2019 at Catherine McBanawa's trial, she just says, "I don't think so," when asked if her mother took it seriously, but she doesn't say she didn't know about it, which was a lie anyway.
Did Dan Markell take it seriously?
I don't know how Danny felt about a motion. If he wrote the motion, he was probably taking it seriously.
I want to approach with some emails. Have you had an opportunity to review State's Exhibit 80?
Your Honor, could I see what the State's Exhibit motion is, please? Your Honor, and I don't know if you want to do it now or I'm going to request a sidebar on this.
What's that?
I'm going to request a sidebar on this, Judge.
The letter identified first.
This is State's Exhibit 80. Just take a moment and flip through, make sure this is the exhibit you reviewed previously.
I've been shown these exhibits.
Okay. And are these exhibits fair and accurate copies of emails between yourself and your mother, Donna Adelson?
They are.
Another point of difference I just noticed between 2019 testimony and 2023, when Georgia says, "Are these fair and accurate representations of emails between yourself and your mother, Donald Adelson?" Wendy says, "Yes, they are." But in 2023, she says, "I think they were just emails from my mother to me," even though her mom is like, "I'm replying to you. By the way, this is how my hair looks. I took a shower and it's kind of curly and I didn't do any drying and I didn't brush it. When I brush it when it's wet, down go the curls. And I had it actually like up in a messy bun." So anyway, yeah, this will last for about an hour.
And the email addresses on this exhibit, donnaharvey@gmail.com. Whose address is that?
My parents have a joint email address.
Okay, but you were communicating with one of them in particular in these emails, right?
Whoever signed the email, but it could be from either or both of them.
Okay, either could have used it, but we can deduce from who signed it who this one was from?
That sounds right.
Okay, and wendy.adelson@gmail.com, is that you?
That is me.
All right, Judge, at this time I asked to move into evidence, State's Exhibit.
We'll go sidebar. We'll go sidebar. Let me give a brief legal explanation to the jury. You've heard a number of hearsay objections about things that were said by Mr. Markle, things that are in these emails by another person who may not be testifying. Normally, we refer to those things as hearsay, and they're not allowed without the person actually testifying, but there are a whole bunch of exceptions to that. And one of the exceptions to that is when it's not being offered to prove that what's said is true, but simply to show that it has been said because there's some relevance to the fact that these statements were made. So I am not offering these statements to show they're true. These persons, I mean, obviously Mr. Markle can't be here for us to have cross-examination of him. We don't anticipate that the other Miss Adelson will be here as a witness. We can't test. The attorneys will not be able to test that to see whether that's true or not, but I am allowing it for limited purposes to show state of mind of these persons. So you may proceed, Ms. Kappelman.
Yes, Your Honor.
I noticed in the emails that your mother referring to, who I think is Dan Markell, as Jibbers. What does that mean?
Jibbers was a nickname that I gave Danny when he was being really difficult and causing me a lot of pain. Was sort of a nickname I gave him to make him feel less threatening.
So it was a derogatory thing?
I wouldn't say it was derogatory.
Did you call him that to his face?
No, I called him Danny to his face.
Okay.
And Jibbers would be what? How would you spell that?
I don't know that I ever spelled it out. In the emails, I think it's spelled with a J, but I guess you could spell it with a G.
Jibbers.
That would be one way to...
Ms. Adelson, you had Mr. Markell's phone number programmed into your phone as Jibbers, didn't you?
That's right.
I wonder if you can hear the neighbor's music blasting. So I also have to pop in because I just love Georgia Kappelman's style. The long pauses, the gentle, okay. And this in particular, when the lying ass, Wendy with an I because she lies, is saying to the judge, I don't know if I've ever spelled it out before. I think it's like J, and then he's asking her Jibbers, and she's like, that could be one way. And then George is like, Miss Kappelman, you had Mr. Markell's name saved in your phone as Jibbers. That's right. She's such a liar. Like, I just love seeing her called out like that.
Do you know much about your brother Charles Adelson's business practices?
I know that he does implant surgery.
Mm-hmm. Do you know anything about whether he offers?
He tended to repeat himself.
That's when he arrived, between 8:30 and 9:15. Did he ever say that?
No.
Do you agree with that?
I remember he was supposed to come between 8 and noon, and then he ended up coming on the early side.
That's when he arrived, between 8:30 and 9:15.
It's my best recollection.
Yes.
Maybe first.
And this part is just like the long, slow reality of court. And I just kind of wanted to leave it here so I could watch and see Wendy get off the stand. See Charlie standing there. Seeing Wendy coming back to the stand. And
Miss Adelson, you may step down for now.
Oh, okay. Just there's so many facial expressions throughout this whole thing that are interesting to me.
We'll resume with the examination of the witness in 5 minutes.
And considering that I truly believe Wendy is going to be arrested this year,
Miss Adelson, come back in and take the witness stand.
I can at least say that in 2024, I believe Wendy will be arrested. I think it's just so interesting to see all this, knowing that soon we very well may be watching Wendy's trial. Hopefully sooner than later. And of course, Donna's trial.
You can be seated. You also have to let the court reporter get set. She is the woman of the hour. Please bring in the jurors.
Donna has a court date. I said it was the 13th, but actually I think it's Monday the 12th, February 12th. But it's probably just another quick Zoom. Nothing major.
Are those emails between you and your mother?
I don't think I responded. I think they're just emails from my mom to me. No?
Okay. Mostly all from your mom?
Yeah.
Okay, and the email address says, I think it's something like Wendy Harvey. Can you tell from the content that it's your mom typing rather than your dad?
Yeah, the email's Donna Harvey, my two parents' names, so they've been married over 50 years, so they have a joint email address. So it's from both of them.
Okay, so what I want to draw your attention to is page 2 of that exhibit, that first paragraph there above the word response. Did you have an opportunity to read that?
I read it real fast,
Kinda
but
scanned.
I can read it.
And what I want to draw your attention to is specifically the part that reads, your father has made numerous trips by plane for weekends and changing the patient's schedule. I didn't highlight it for you. Okay, just a moment.
I see the word stuck. I found it.
Okay. So did you describe, at least in one occasion, being stuck in Tallahassee?
No, can I read the sentence?
Sure.
So it says, the husband has made it difficult for the wife with her colleagues at her current position due to his statements and actions, and the husband's intent is to relocate to a larger area at some point. So the wife is merely stuck in Tallahassee until the husband decides that the time is right for him to leave.
All right.
Meaning,
and had he accepted a job anywhere else by the time that he was murdered?
No, he hadn't yet been offered a job, but he was always looking.
Okay. So he was just going to move and just let you have the kids at that point?
He probably would have done what I did, which is have a conversation and see if it was a place that made sense for both of us to live.
And would you have moved to wherever he got a great job and started a new life there?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay. Did you like Tallahassee?
I did.
Go through all that in my head. I come to the conclusion, as you said a minute ago, that she was at least aware this was going to happen, and I think probably involved in it. Okay. All right. Too long. But just an overall impression of her. And Danny says this in court documents, actually. She's a very manipulative person, a pathological liar. Wendy was an alcoholic while I was with her. She drank her dinner most nights. extremely fragile, extremely depressed. Many, many nights sitting, hated Tallahassee so much that thought we're a bunch of country bumpkins and we liked Tallahassee because she's from Miami. Didn't hide that fact. Thought it was bizarre that I moved here from Phoenix. And the 2 conversations that we had every single day for 9 months were, Danny is an evil monster, and Tallahassee is the worst place in the world to live, and I can't believe I got stuck here because of Danny Markel. And she was obsessed with those 2 concepts. So I got really tired of hearing that, but I heard that every day for 9 months. Wendy's very manipulative in that she plays the victim very, very easily. Whenever we got into a confrontation, she'd pour me. Very sensitive to that. I work with DV victims, women that have been raped as a social worker, all that kind of stuff. So I'm a sensitive Mr. Rogers kind of guy. So it's a very, easy way to manipulate me, or Markel for that matter. But she just wasn't stable even in the fall, and able to cover it up here or there. One of these people, the first 100 hours you spend with her, you think she's amazing. 101 on, you're like, shit, what did I get myself into here? This person's kind of crazy.
You talk a little fast for me.
I'm sorry.
100 hours?
Yeah, first 100 hours you think she's amazing. Then after that, wait a second, there's some tremendous flaws here. So she puts up a very good public face. It's but as far as seeing stuff pertinent to the crime, I met her brother Charlie when I was down there in Miami for Immokalee. You may recall that I said I found him to be a very strange person, very aggressive, verbally. He takes sex tourism trips to South America to have sex with underage prostitutes.
Wait a minute, back up a second.
Yeah, he takes sex tourism trips to South America to have sex with underage prostitutes.
Sex tourism?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, South America.
I'm kind of a sheltered guy.
Well, I was shocked not only that he would tell people he did that, but that he would tell his younger sister. That was strange to me. Very odd. And there's this odd dynamic between them. The whole family is real weird. He talked in the hot tub about punishing a girl by anally violating her in front of Wendy and I, like bragging about the fact that he'd hurt this girl because she had got him in an uncomfortable situation. So, like an offender to me. It came off like kind of sociopathic, like, this is strange. He just met me, he's telling me this. It was really, really weird.
Okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
I know, I'm just trying to rein you.
Conversation and see if it was a place that made sense for both of us to live.
And would you have moved to wherever he got a great job and started a new life there?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay. Did you like Tallahassee?
I did.
And you said, I think you did say this, but let me clarify. Was your mom aware of the order denying relocation?
My mom was aware of the order denying relocation.
And what about your brother, Charlie? Was he aware of that as well?
I'm sure my mom would have said something to him.
All right, so did your mom suggest any ways that you might coerce Dan Markel to let you move with the kids to South Florida?
Yes, I think we talked about that before.
We did, and for this I'm referring back to those emails. And in particular, the bribe. So another bribe to get him to allow relocation. I'm on page 5 of the first email for the defense. Another bribe to get him to allow relocation should be the offer of plane tickets so that he can fly back and forth, right? So you're gonna potentially offer this big monetary benefit that would allow him to fly back and forth to work. Is that the idea?
I never said that I was going to do any of that.
Okay, was that the idea that your mom had?
That was the idea.
All right, and the amount of the bribe is gonna be, or was at least discussed as being $1 million. Is that right?
That is what they said.
Okay, and did you agree with that?
No.
Would that have worked?
I have no idea if it would have worked, but...
You think he might have taken $1 million to let his kids go?
Well, he wasn't letting his kids go. He would have moved to South Florida, and he would have...
Might have taken $1 million to let his kids go?
Well, he wasn't letting his kids go. He would have moved to South Florida, and he would have...
Might have taken $1 million to let his kids go?
Well, he wasn't letting his kids go. He would have moved to South Florida, and he would have commuted back and forth to his job. So, maybe.
Well, then why wasn't it offered?
because I didn't want to do it.
All right, what about the idea that you could try to threaten Dan to convert the kids to Christianity so that they can fit into the Bible Belt here in Tallahassee? Is that something your mom suggested in these emails?
My mom did suggest that.
Okay, and specifically, this is on page 7 of the exhibit. Let Jibbers know that your children will be baptized in the Catholic Church. Have a picture made of them in front of the church, all that kind of thing. That's what your mom suggested at one time?
She did, yes.
Okay, and did you do any of those things?
No, I don't even think I responded to it.
Do you know whether the defendant, your brother Charlie, was supportive of the plan to convert them or pose as converting them to Christianity?
I have no idea. I don't think he was particularly involved in this round of my mom's emails.
On page 11 of the exhibit, there's an indication from your mom that Charlie at least has discussed this with her and maybe is somewhat supportive. Charlie brought up a good point when he said that Americans were dropped behind enemy lines during World War II wearing Nazi uniforms to get what they wanted. They had a job to get done and they did what they needed to do to accomplish it. You have a job to get done in a very short time frame to accomplish it. If you dressed your kids up in Hitler Youth uniforms and brought them down here, I could care less if it was an act of defiance that would show Jibbers that he's, all caps and bold, not in control. In Hitler Youth uniforms and brought them down here, I could care less if it was an act of defiance that would show Jibbers that he's, all caps and bold, not in control. So it just seems like your mom was pretty extreme about this situation of getting you relocated. Can you agree with that?
Yeah.
All right, and Charlie was at least consulted on it or had offered some information about it.
Well, that was my mom's rendition, so I don't know if that's what actually happened or that was her perception.
Sure. Were you involved in the effort to consult a lawyer about the bribe and whether that was going to be legal?
I wasn't the lawyer consulted in that.
No. Were you involved in consulting a lawyer with your mom? Okay. Do you know for sure if any financial offer was or was not made to Dan Markell?
I couldn't say for sure if they made it to Danny without me knowing, but I don't think so.
Is that something they would do, is try to negotiate with him behind your back or deal with this situation behind your back?
I don't think so. I think I would have known. Danny probably would have told me.
But you definitely didn't extend any of these offers or threats?
No.
When was the divorce final?
The summer of 2013. But do you want me to read through it?
Could you read the caption aloud, please?
Sure. Motion to dismiss the former husband's counter motion to enforce marital settlement agreements, financial provisions, an incorporated motion for sanctions for failure to state a cause of action, and motion to strike as a sham pleading, and motion to strike as redundant, immaterial, impertinent, and scandalous pleading.
And then if you'll go to page 439, do you see a paragraph that begins, the vast majority of the former husband's motion?
Actually don't see that. On page 439?
Yes, ma'am. I think I have it pulled out.
On number 8.
Yeah, the vast majority of the former husband's motion contains allegations that are redundant, immaterial, impertinent, and scandalous. Yada yada, he's making false and immaterial statements against you.
Yada yada. That just freaking kills me. Yada yada.
Yada yada, he's making false and immaterial statements against you. His pleadings only prove that he is a disgruntled former husband who cannot move past this disillusion. So it's getting personal. Would you agree with that?
My attorney here is responding to his pleading, which was over the top.
And this is over the top, right?
I don't think so, no.
Also, this tells me a lot. That was over the top. And so was your motion. No, I don't think so. Okay. So we just got a little insight into Wendy Adelson's perspective. She doesn't think it's over the top. Okay. So we know that you don't think over the top stuff is over the top. That's pretty over the top.
Then 6 days later, Dan files another motion seeking action against your mother, and that's the one we've already touched on. That's page 441. Is that right?
Page 441.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that's what we talked about.
Okay. Former husband's counter motion for enforcement of marital settlement agreement on parenting issues and motion for contempt and sanctions. Here he's alleging, again, more violations of the marital settlement agreement, including communication between he and the boys. He wasn't happy with how much communication was happening, failing to keep him informed of where his kids are, failure to communicate about parenting decisions like the kids' schooling, diet, and extracurricular activities, and refusal to provide him access to the kids on their birthdays. So he's complaining about a lot of things associated with this, not just money stuff, it's parenting stuff too, right?
That's right.
And isn't it in this motion that... Yes, sir.
Oh, I said that's right.
Isn't it in this motion that Dan Markell seeks to enjoin you from allowing your mother from spending time with the kids without supervision?
Can you please show me which page that's on?
450. Do you see a paragraph beginning on 3 specific occasions?
Yes, I do.
Could you read that, please?
8A, on 3 specific occasions in November 2013, the children informed Mr. Markell, "Abba, Dad, Grandma says you're stupid." When queried as to why Grandma, the maternal grandmother, would say such things, the children replied jointly that it is because she says you are trying to take her sunshines away from her.
And continue, please.
In December 2013,
you don't have to say the name.
Yeah.
Your child.
My child, the younger son, further stated to Mr. Markell in front of the former wife, "Abba, Grandma says she hates you." The children were visiting with their grandparents at that time.
Mr. Markell is concerned that continued exposure to such negativity forms a foundation for parental alienation. Is that what he was alleging about your mom?
That is what he is alleging in this document, yes.
And this was filed in court?
He filed this in court.
On what date?
It will be at the front of the document, right?
Yes, ma'am, page 441.
This was filed on March 26th, 2014.
And this was the filing that never got ruled on, right?
I don't believe there was any ruling on this.
And that's because Dan Markell was killed before the hearing, right?
I don't know when it was scheduled for.
It wasn't even scheduled yet.
Okay.
It was waiting to be scheduled when he was killed. Is it fair to say your mom was worried about this motion?
No, my mom never knew about this motion. And as I mentioned before, Danny asked my mom to babysit after filing this motion, so I don't really believe anything that's written here.
Well, you forwarded this motion to your mother.
I don't believe I did.
Via email. In fact, you forwarded this motion to 12 different people. Your mom, Jeffrey Lacoste, Renee Griggs, Tova Walsh, Morgan Honeycutt, Gary Cohen, Miguel Edmondson, Trey Hubler, Robert Adelson, Rachel Frank, Jared Reich, and some MEHULNYC at yahoo.com. So if you weren't worried about this, why'd you send it to all these people?
I couldn't really say. It's been a long time.
And then a couple days later, we know what happened.
So this was in March. So a couple days, I sent it to people in July when Danny was killed.
You sent it a couple days later.
I sent
that email to 12 different people.
In March.
Yes.
Maybe for
Miss Adelson, you may step down for now.
Oh, okay.
We'll resume with the examination of the witness in 5 minutes. Ms. Adelson, come back in and take the witness stand. You can be seated. I also have to let the court reporter get set. She is the woman of the hour. Please bring in the jurors.
Like here, Dan Rashbaum coming in back into the court, and he's like laughing. It's like it's party time, and it kind of makes me sick knowing that when the day is over, Dan Rashbaum gets to go home, probably quite a nice home, have some nice expensive meals, probably lives in a very nice place and has a nice luxurious lifestyle, and then his client is going back to the prison, and just seeing him laughing, it just like cringe. It makes me cringe, even though Charlie deserves to go to prison, but it's still very cringy.
Also, whoever's phone had the frogs or crickets or whatever that was, turn it off.